juicy made Biggie Smalls a legend. But behind the music, there was a much darker story unfolding, one that involved betrayal and hatred. Biggie's mother has come forward with shocking revelations about his true feelings for Diddy. How could a friendship that once seemed unbreakable turn into something so bitter? Was Diddy ever the friend Biggie needed? Watch this video as we expose a story of fame, lies, and a truth that remained hidden for far too long. But first, we need to look into Biggie and Diddy's early friendship to understand the relationship that has now resulted in these new revelations. Biggie and Diddy's early friendship. Biggie and Diddy crossed paths in the early 1990s when Diddy, then a young ambitious producer and mogul, signed Biggie to his label, Bad Boy Records. This moment was monumental for both of them. Biggie was an aspiring rapper trying to break into the music industry, while Diddy was on the lookout for talent that could define his label. Their connection was immediate, and it became clear that they had something special. The signing of Biggie to Bad Boy Records was more than just a business transaction. It was the beginning of a friendship that would define East Coast hip-hop in the 1990s. Their friendship and collaboration were solidified with the release of Biggie's debut album, Ready to Die, in 1994. This album became a massive success, quickly earning 6 times platinum certification in the United States. Biggie's storytelling, delivery, and charisma made him one of the biggest names not only in rap, but in pop culture as a whole. Diddy played a key role in shaping the album, acting as Biggie's producer, mentor, and friend. The duo's chemistry translated into the music, and together they built a sound and a brand that dominated the airwaves. The two were often seen together, and their bond was evident in music videos, public appearances, and interviews. They were inseparable, and their partnership was viewed as one of mutual benefit and success. Biggie even referred to their friendship in one of his biggest hits, Hypnotize, where he likened them to Starsky and Hutch, a nod to their closeness and the tight-knit nature of their relationship. This dynamic was not just for show. Biggie and Diddy complemented each other in many ways. Diddy had the business savvy, marketing genius, and vision, while Biggie had the raw talent and lyrical prowess to back it up. However, behind the scenes, their friendship had its complexities. While the public saw two friends who had each other's backs, the reality, as revealed by those close to them, painted a different picture. There were moments of tension and jealousy, particularly around the relationships both had with other artists, specifically Tupac. At the time, Biggie and Tupac were peers in the hip-hop world, both on their way to becoming legends. However, Diddy reportedly felt envious of Biggie's friendship with Tupac. Kirk Burroughs, a former Bad Boy Records partner, shared that Diddy felt sidelined when Biggie and Tupac grew closer. Diddy, who had tried to form a bond with Tupac, found himself excluded from that friendship, and it was a point of tension that simmered beneath the surface. According to some who were close to the situation, Diddy viewed Tupac as someone who didn't respect him or take him seriously. Tupac saw Diddy as a corny executive, which only intensified the situation. Diddy may have been fond of Tupac and admired his talent, but the feelings weren't mutual, and that left Diddy feeling left out of a friendship he desperately wanted to be a part of. Even though Biggie was signed to Diddy's label, it was clear that Biggie viewed Tupac as a peer, a fellow artist he could relate to on a different level. This dynamic between the three of them became even more strained following a shooting incident in 1994 where Tupac was shot multiple times in a New York recording studio. Tupac suspected that Diddy and the Bad Boy crew had set him up, a belief that would later contribute to the infamous East Coast-West Coast rivalry. This situation caused a major rift, not just between Tupac and Diddy, but also in how Biggie fit into the narrative. Despite these undercurrents, Biggie and Diddy continued to maintain their public image as close friends and collaborators. They appeared in numerous music videos together, further solidifying their presence in the music scene. Biggie's success became synonymous with Diddy's bad boy brand, and the two men rode the wave of their success as they continued to make history in the world of hip-hop. Biggie's untimely passing in 1997 left a void in the music world and in Diddy's life. In the years that followed, Diddy has often reflected on his friendship with Biggie, sharing memories and tributes to the rapper who had become one of the most celebrated figures in the industry. Diddy would frequently post throwback images of them together on social media, offering a glimpse into their bond. In interviews, Diddy has expressed that he still feels a sense of responsibility for Biggie's death. One of the most poignant moments came when Diddy revealed that Biggie was supposed to leave Los Angeles for London the night he was killed. In a conversation with Biggie just before his death, Diddy allowed himself to be talked into letting Biggie stay in LA instead of boarding the plane for London. This decision haunted Diddy, and he's mentioned in interviews that he regrets not trusting his gut in that moment. Over time, Diddy's reflections on Biggie's passing have been a mix of sorrow, guilt, and tribute. He has often expressed how Biggie's death continues to impact him, both personally and professionally. Diddy released the iconic tribute song "I'll Be Missing You" after Biggie's passing, a heartfelt tribute to his fallen friend. The song became a massive hit, reaching #1 in the UK and featuring Biggie's widow, Faith Evans, in the music video. It was a way for Diddy to process his grief and honor the memory of someone who had been more than just an artist on his label, but a true friend. Yet, for all the public expressions of love and admiration, there were always rumors and whispers suggesting that not everything was perfect between Biggie and Diddy. In particular, Biggie's mother, Voletta Wallace, would go on to reveal her own perspective on her son's relationship with Diddy. According to her, there were things about their friendship that the public never knew, things that would ultimately paint a different picture of their relationship. Biggie's rise to fame may have been tied closely to Diddy, but it wasn't without its complications. Their friendship, while seemingly strong on the outside, had layers that the public wasn't privy to. Diddy's own insecurities, particularly regarding Biggie's relationship with Tupac, coupled with his guilt over the circumstances surrounding Biggie's death, add complexity to a story that was already filled with triumph, tragedy, and tension. Diddy's role in Biggie's final days. As Biggie prepared to release his highly anticipated second album, Life After Death, the events that transpired during his final days were overshadowed by suspicion, tension, and fear. His relationship with Diddy, who had been instrumental in Biggie's rise to fame, became a focal point as rumors circulated about the extent of Diddy's involvement in the circumstances surrounding Biggie's tragic end. The two had once shared an unbreakable bond, but as Biggie's career flourished and tensions between East Coast and West Coast rappers escalated, things began to unravel. In February 1997, Biggie traveled to Los Angeles to promote Life After Death and shoot the music video for his hit single, Hypnotize. Even though the release of his second album was scheduled for late March, the air of uncertainty and danger that surrounded him was palpable. Biggie openly admitted that he feared for his safety. The death of Tupac Shakur just 6 months prior had left an indelible mark on the hip-hop community, and Biggie knew that he too could be a target. He took precautions by hiring extra security during his time in Los Angeles, a decision that spoke volumes about the seriousness of the threats he faced. As Biggie navigated this high-pressure environment, Diddy remained by his side. The two of them were bound by more than just a business relationship. They shared a deep history, built on years of collaboration and trust. But as the days went on, cracks in their relationship began to show. This tension between the two men reached its peak just days before Biggie's death. On March 7, 1997, Biggie made an appearance at the Soul Train Music Awards, where he was met with a mixed reaction from the crowd. Some of the audience members booed him, a clear sign of the hostility that had built up over the ongoing feud. Biggie's unease was evident, and it only added to his growing sense of insecurity. He had originally planned to leave Los Angeles and head to London the next day, but plans changed. Instead, he attended an after-party on March 8th, hosted by Vibe magazine and other sponsors at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Throughout the night, Diddy and Biggie were seen mingling with friends, industry figures, and fellow artists. However, as the evening progressed, the mood turned ominous. Diddy and Biggie left the party around midnight in separate vehicles, each surrounded by their entourage. Biggie rode in the front passenger seat of a GMC Suburban alongside his close friends Damian D-Rock Butler, Lil Cease, and driver Gregory G. Money Young. Diddy followed in another vehicle. Security was tight, with an off-duty Inglewood police officer driving behind them in a Chevrolet Blazer. It was during this drive that the tragic events unfolded. As the vehicles approached a red light at the intersection of Wilshire Boulevard and South Fairfax Avenue, a dark-colored Chevrolet Impala pulled up beside Biggie's SUV. A man wearing a suit and bow tie lowered his window and opened fire. 4 shots rang out, striking Biggie in the passenger seat. Chaos ensued as his friends rushed to get him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Despite their efforts, Biggie was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m. He was just 24 years old. In the aftermath of Biggie's death, the hip-hop community was left reeling. The similarities between Biggie's murder and Tupac Shakur's death months earlier were impossible to ignore. Both artists had been central figures in the East Coast-West Coast feud, and their deaths seemed to signal the tragic culmination of years of tension. Almost immediately, rumors began to circulate linking the two murders. Some speculated that Biggie's death was an act of retaliation for Tupac's murder, with many pointing fingers at various figures in the rap industry. Diddy's name came up frequently in these discussions. Some questioned whether he had done enough to protect Biggie, especially given the level of danger they both faced at the time. Others accused Diddy of benefiting from Biggie's death, with conspiracy theories suggesting that he had something to gain from the tragedy. Despite these accusations, Diddy maintained that he had no knowledge of any plans to harm Biggie, and that he too was devastated by the loss of his friend and collaborator. Biggie's mother's perspective. Voletta Wallace, Biggie's mother, has always been vocal about her feelings toward Diddy. Initially, she held Diddy in high regard, believing that he had her son's best interests at heart. But as time passed, her view began to shift. In recent years, particularly with new allegations and claims surfacing, Voletta has made it clear that she feels deeply betrayed. Her sense of disappointment with Diddy stems from the belief that he did not honor her son's memory in the way she once thought he would. Voletta's frustration seems to have boiled over as serious accusations against Diddy have come to light. These accusations, which include multiple lawsuits and even disturbing footage, have left Voletta feeling sick to her stomach. She expressed a sense of disbelief at the man who once stood by her son, now being caught up in such a negative light. Her initial trust in Diddy, rooted in the belief that he was a loyal friend to Biggie, seems shattered. The betrayal is personal, not only because of Diddy's alleged actions, but because of the deep connection he shared with Biggie during his life. Now, Voletta's feelings toward Diddy are a mix of anger and heartbreak, and she's not afraid to let the world know it. For her, the realization of what Diddy might have been capable of has been tough to digest. She mentioned how she has prayed for Diddy's mother and his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who has been at the center of recent allegations. It's clear that Valletta's perspective has shifted from a place of respect to one of disgust and disappointment. She even expressed an intense desire to confront Diddy, stating she would like to slap the daylights out of him. These words speak volumes about how deeply Valletta feels about the revelations that have emerged over time. What adds another layer of complexity to Valletta's feelings is the possibility that Biggie might have been distancing himself from Diddy before his death. According to several sources, Biggie was allegedly preparing to leave Bad Boy Records, Diddy's label, around the time of his death. This supposed plan to part ways with Diddy has been echoed by several people close to Biggie, suggesting that things were not as harmonious between them as they may have seemed on the surface. Valletta likely feels even more disheartened knowing that her son might have been seeking a way out of his relationship with Diddy. It's as if everything she once believed about their friendship has been flipped upside down. The idea that Biggie was trying to regain control of his publishing rights and possibly leave Diddy behind paints a picture of a more strained relationship between the two than many fans ever realized. This notion that Biggie was planning to step away from Diddy further amplifies Valletta's sense of betrayal. Diddy's alleged actions following Biggie's death only add to her resentment. Reports have surfaced suggesting that Diddy may have capitalized on the grief and tragedy surrounding Biggie's passing to boost his own career. Rather than stepping back and letting Biggie's legacy be the focus, it's been suggested that Diddy took advantage of the situation for his own gain. For example, when Rolling Stone approached Bad Boy Records to feature Biggie on the cover after his death, Diddy reportedly turned down the opportunity in favor of promoting himself. The cover instead featured Diddy, with the headline declaring him the new king of hip-hop. For Valletta, this must have felt like a slap in the face, a moment where her son's legacy could have been celebrated, but instead, Diddy chose to put himself in the spotlight. It's hard to imagine how Valletta must feel, knowing that Diddy openly acknowledged that Biggie's death likely contributed to the success of his debut album, No Way Out. In interviews, Diddy himself admitted that at least 2 million copies of the album were sold because of the shock and sorrow surrounding Biggie's murder. Diddy's career surged in the wake of Biggie's death, while the mother who lost her son was left to grapple with not only the loss, but also the feeling that Diddy had turned tragedy into opportunity. All these factors have undoubtedly contributed to Valletta's bitterness toward Diddy. It's not just the recent allegations against him that have triggered her anger. It's the cumulative effect of years of feeling that Diddy used her son's death as a stepping stone. Valletta's perspective is one that's filled with heartache. She lost her son in a tragic, senseless way, and now, decades later, she's left to confront the uncomfortable reality that Diddy may not have been the friend she thought he was. Her words are filled with the kind of raw emotion only a mother who has endured such loss could express. She wanted to believe in Diddy, but the more she's learned over the years, the harder it's become to hold on to that belief. Speculations and industry rumors. Over the years, there have been countless speculations and rumors surrounding Biggie's relationship with Diddy. While both were instrumental figures in shaping the legacy of East Coast hip-hop, questions about their friendship and professional dynamic have been circulating ever since Biggie's tragic death in 1997. Much of the conversation has centered around how much Biggie truly trusted Diddy, with whispers that he may have harbored resentment or even a strong dislike toward the mogul. For instance, former bodyguard Gene Deal has shed light on the tension that seemed to simmer between Biggie and Diddy. Deal recalls how Biggie, early in his career, was warned by Tupac Shakur to be cautious around Diddy. Tupac allegedly told Biggie that Diddy would eventually exploit him financially, a claim that seems to underscore much of the suspicion surrounding Diddy's business dealings. Tupac had hoped to bring Biggie into his Thug Life movement, but Biggie instead stayed loyal to Diddy, who had the resources and connections to further his career. This decision to stick with Diddy over Tupac may have been one of the reasons why Biggie and Tupac's relationship deteriorated, adding another layer of complexity to the entire situation. Gene Deal also hints at another interesting dynamic, a possible jealousy on Diddy's part when it came to Tupac. According to Deal, Diddy seemed to go after everything Tupac had, from professional opportunities like the movie Juice to personal relationships with women. Deal suggests that Diddy might have been envious of Tupac's popularity and talent, which is why he pursued some of the women Tupac was involved with. This jealousy, if true, would have only worsened the strain between Diddy and Tupac, and by extension, could have placed Biggie in an awkward position. After all, Biggie had strong ties to both men at one point, but ultimately sided with Diddy, possibly due to financial incentives. One of the most prominent rumors regarding Biggie and Diddy revolves around the idea that Diddy played a role in shaping the infamous East Coast-West Coast rivalry. Kirk Burroughs, a former associate of Diddy, has gone on record stating that Diddy encouraged Biggie to make more confrontational music, songs that stoked the flames of this rivalry. While Gene Deal disputes this, saying that Biggie never wrote under Diddy's direct influence, the idea persists that Diddy may have had a hand in escalating tensions, using Biggie as his mouthpiece to assert dominance over the West Coast scene. It's worth noting that Biggie was highly independent in his creative process, often writing in his own space and only allowing Diddy to step in after the music was finished to add his signature touches. Another source of speculation came from the mysterious circumstances surrounding Biggie's death. In the aftermath of Biggie's murder, many conspiracy theories emerged, some of which pointed fingers directly at Diddy. While no concrete evidence has surfaced to support these claims, the sheer volume of rumors suggests that not everyone believed Diddy was as innocent as he appeared. Eminem, for one, has repeatedly brought up Diddy's possible involvement in both Biggie's and Tupac's deaths in his music, most notably in his song Kill Shot. In that track, Eminem alludes to Diddy orchestrating the hit that killed Tupac, implying that Biggie's death was the inevitable consequence of Tupac's murder. Though these claims are incendiary and have never been proven, the fact that they have persisted for so long indicates that many in the hip-hop community believe there's more to the story than meets the eye. Diddy himself has addressed some of these rumors, albeit cryptically. In a now-deleted episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Diddy commented on Eminem's accusations, dismissing them, but in a way that some found unnerving. He mentioned that the situation with Eminem had been handled behind the scenes, and implied that there was nothing more to discuss. This vague response did little to quash the rumors and, if anything, may have fueled more speculation about Diddy's role in the events surrounding Biggie's death. There's also the perspective of Greg Kading, a retired LAPD detective who worked on the task force investigating the murders of both Tupac and Biggie. Kading has publicly speculated that Diddy's true nature may be coming to light in recent years, suggesting that Diddy has carefully cultivated his public image while hiding a darker side. Kading hints that recent legal troubles faced by Diddy, such as accusations involving trafficking, may peel back the layers of his carefully maintained persona. While these allegations are not directly tied to Biggie, they have led many to wonder if there's a connection between Diddy's business dealings and the tragic outcomes for some of his associates, including Biggie. Despite all of this, no solid evidence has ever surfaced proving that Diddy had malicious intent towards Biggie. Much of what we know comes from testimonies, personal recollections, and second-hand accounts from people who were close to the pair. However, the constant stream of rumors suggests that, at the very least, Diddy's relationship with Biggie was complicated, possibly more so than fans might have realized at the time. The notion that Diddy may have taken advantage of Biggie financially is another recurring theme. Several people, including Tupac and Gene Deal, have suggested that Diddy was primarily interested in Biggie for the money he could bring in. This idea, if true, paints Diddy not as a friend or mentor, but as someone who saw Biggie as a meal ticket, a means to an end. The notion that Biggie might have realized this, and possibly even resented Diddy for it, is central to many of the rumors that have persisted over the years. While these speculations continue to swirl, they raise important questions about the nature of their partnership. Was Diddy a supportive friend and mentor, or was he an opportunist who exploited Biggie's talent for his own gain? The truth, as with many things in the music industry, may lie somewhere in the middle. Their relationship undoubtedly had its highs and lows, and while Diddy helped launch Biggie to stardom, it's possible that Biggie grew increasingly wary of the motivations behind Diddy's actions as his career progressed. The broader narrative around Diddy and Biggie's relationship is colored by the fact that Biggie is no longer here to tell his side of the story.